Hello and welcome to the channel. Please bear with me as this is my first time trying, and I mean really trying, with jazzy cuts and relatively coherent speech patterns to make a decent how-to tutorial. I spend a lot of time watching cool shit people make on the internet and feel like it's my time to get mine. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
One effect that always gets me stoked is the Michael Keaton. Not this Michael Keaton, but this Michael Keaton. In Final Cut Pro, we can recreate this effect using a mask. Masking is a basic function of Final Cut Pro, but one I continually have to relearn every time I have an idea. I'm hoping that spending a ridiculous amount of time making a video little to no people will actually watch should be the edge I need to cement this process into my brain. Let's start by identifying what masking is. Just like when you go to a casual masquerade ball with Tom Cruise and throw on a fresh new mask, masking is an effect where you can partially cover a video in your timeline with another video element. This is a really popular effect and is surprisingly easy to do. Some basics you will want to know before diving into masking are keyframing. In case you're not too familiar with keyframing, here's a crash course. In video editing, a keyframe locks in the value of a video or audio effect parameter at a particular point in the project. When two keyframes with different values are set in Final Cut Pro, a transition from one value to another is calculated, resulting in a dynamic change to that parameter. Key phrases here are locks and dynamic range. And if you didn't catch all that, that's alright. Let me explain. Let's start by dragging one clip onto your timeline. Now with the cursor at the beginning of the clip, notice how the clip is highlighted. You're going to the transform section in the top right hand side. So here's the transform box. You'll notice on the far right several little diamonds. These are your keyframes. So essentially what happens is whenever I begin highlighting these, I'll be locking these specific functions. Now that position, rotation, and scale have all been selected, these positions in the actual frame are locked. So for the next step, drag your cursor to the end of the clip. With your clip still highlighted, go ahead and select new keyframes by highlighting those little orange, yellow, gold diamonds. The only difference now is you're going to make some adjustments on this keyframe. So over here where it says scale, go ahead and toggle that switch over to about 150, 175. And you'll see that the image is now kind of zooming in. In addition to that, I want you to go up on this transform line. You're going to see this little box. Select it and notice how this new window pops up. So this window allows you to manually override how your position, rotation, and scale look. So I'm going to grab this and kind of just drag it so I have a little bit more of this building in frame. And I'm also going to do a little bit of a rotation by grabbing this little purple dot. And I'm going to zoom in just a hair more. Okay, so basically we're going to go from this to this. And notice how whenever I mention those two key phrases, locks and dynamic change, these are the locked frames. And now we're going to watch the dynamic change by pressing play. That's it. That's a really simple two-step keyframe tutorial. The really neat thing about keyframes is you can actually add as many keyframes as you want or as are available on a specific clip. So that's the crash course. Now moving on to masking. Start by picking a clip. Preferably you're going to want something where you or the subject are moving from left to right or right to left across the screen. I'm going to pick this one of me doing a kickflip over the tabletop. Drag it, drop it.
Drag it, drop it.
Next thing is I'm going to check the shadows and trim the clip so that the shadows are barely entering the frame and the end exits when the shadows are out of frame. So I'm going to find the end, make a cut, go back to the arrow, and now I have my core clip. So let's watch it just as is. Okay, something to keep in mind. This is a clip that was filmed at 120 frames per second. That's gonna serve me well in this editing process because I don't have to make any quick cuts or quick edits. I have a lot of time and space to kind of think about where my masking will start and end, and I can make minor adjustments over a longer amount of time. So it's just easier whenever you're beginning to edit something that's moving slower. Okay, so now that I have the start point and the end point, I'm going to copy and paste this clip. And I'm going to drag it and drop it on top of itself, a little bit offset. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust my window size so that it is about 25%. That way I can see kind of visualize the blank space to the left and to the right. Next, I'm going to move the cursor until I'm almost dead center in the frame. And now we're going to move into masking. So go to the effects pane in the bottom right hand corner. Scroll down until you find masks. There are several different masks that you can choose from for this tutorial. I'm going to use a graduated mask. Drag it, drop it on top of the top clip. Your screen might look a little strange. You're going to see two circles. The top circle changes the location of where the masking will begin, and the bottom circle changes the intensity, or how quickly it graduates. Both can be moved and manipulated. Start by rotating the bottom circle 90 degrees counterclockwise. And feel free to move it a little bit closer. Next, you're going to move the top circle, which is now the left circle, in the middle of the two subjects. So this is going to be between me and me. And just to kind of highlight what it looks like if you're doing this incorrectly, if I move it too far to the left, I can only see one of me. If I move it too far to the right, I can only see one of me, but if I move it right in the middle, I have two of me present. And now this is where keyframing really comes into play. These two circles are set where the mask begins and ends. So over here on your graduated mask box, on the far left-hand side, you're going to see those diamonds again. Select all three. First keyframe is set at this specific point in time. So if I were to play the video, this is what it would look like. Nothing, nothing, nothing. One of me appears. I'm going to do a kickflip, and magically, out of nowhere, another one pops in, and then I kick back out. So that's phase one. So let's move on to phase two. Let's move this cursor until I am just entering the frame here. Go back up to your keyframes for the graduated mask and select all three dots, and then drag the circles until you see two of the subject. Now repeat that process at the end, barely in frame. Select your keyframes, drag the circles until there's two of you, or two of the subject. Let's start that from the beginning. Magically appear, and then another one's already there. Two in the air. Looks good. And one will magically disappear. Okay, moving on to phase three. So we have three keyframes set so far. You can kind of watch how that keyframe really works in action whenever you scroll over the clip. See how the keyframing, you see how it's dynamically changing? It moves with where I set those points. So the last part of this is just getting them to go on and off the screen at the appropriate time. If we back this up to the beginning of the clip, set new keyframes, drag these dots off the screen. Do the same thing on the back end. You see that the big black bar on the right hand side? Drag it to the end, new keyframes, and get it off the screen until you see me completely. At this point, we should be about 99% there. So let's move back to fit screen, full screen this, and let's see what it looks like. One, two, in the air, and that should repeat now. And that is a crash course on masking. Now with that masking project done, we're going to spice it up a bit. And this is actually the easiest part. On the top clip with the mask that's enabled, copy, go to the end of the clip, and paste. Let's do it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Collapse your timeline a hair. And all you're going to do now is drag and drop these clips on top of each other, almost equal distance from the first to the second one. Okay, so the main goal here is to try to just make it look like stair steps. That one's about 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, so basically I went from 1 of me to 2 of me to 6. All with a copy and paste. Now in the final version, you can spice it up a bit, do a little speed ramping, moving from fast to slow, whatever, but essentially, that's it. Boom, you just made a Michael Keaton.
I'm Batman.
Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave a comment in the section below and I will answer accordingly. But I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of work you guys are able to do. Thanks for letting me share and have a great day.